Hey guys, Jeremy Mullins here, registered dietitian, coming at you guys today. Second day of National Nutrition Month. We're going to talk about one of the macronutrients, and we're going to talk about the importance of protein. Okay. Yesterday we went into the calories and the energy and how most people look at just total calories and not even break down to the difference between calories coming from protein sources, calories coming from a carbohydrate, and then calories coming from our fat. Okay. Today we'll focus in on protein. Now, a lot of times, what I try to clear up is what we hear in lay articles or our friends tell us and things of that nature. And a lot of times we'll call it bro science that we hear the recommendations for protein. Okay. And the thing to keep in mind, I know a lot of you guys aren't necessarily into bodybuilding, or your first option is you don't want to gain muscle mass, or you don't want to get bulky. I want to clear that up and make you guys realize you have to put forth effort, and it is actually hard to gain muscle tissue. Now, some people will gain it a little bit, easier than others, but a lot of times, to be frankly honest, some people just carry more muscle tissue than others because you're carrying around extra weight. So if you're 40, 60, 100 pounds overweight, you don't realize how much muscle you actually build up in your legs and your back because you're carrying that extra weight around. Okay, so don't be afraid to consume the amount of protein that I'm going to recommend, in that fear of gaining muscle tissue. Okay, with protein, the very important part is if you don't consume enough of it when you're trying to drop body weight, you'll start to lose muscle tissue. So we're going on reduced calorie diets to kind of drop our body weight. And if we don't consume enough protein, you will lose muscle tissue. When this happens, the body kind of goes in what we'll call a starvation mode. Okay, so the body thinks it's starving, it's losing its muscle tissue, and it kind of just flips that switch. It's like, this is not a good thing. So it's very important to maintain a certain amount of protein. Okay, now the good thing about your protein amount is it kind of stays stable. Okay, it's not going to like fluctuate up and down really based on activity and things of that nature like our carbohydrate and our fat would. So protein is kind of one of those stable things, in the diet. All right, what I like to do with my recommendations is go 0.8 to 1.5 grams of protein per lean body weight. Okay, now a lot of you guys might be saying, well, Jeremy, I don't know my lean body weight. Okay, don't stress about that. The reason I put a macro plan out is it fits most people. Okay, so my recommendations for females are 125 grams up to 150 grams a day. Guys is 175 to 200. The difference being in there in the amount of muscle tissue that gentlemen will carry over ladies. Okay, now those are just general recommendations that fit most people that I've seen over the last decade and a half. There's always going to be outliers. So if I got someone watching this that is 6'6", 300 and some pounds, you probably might need a little bit more protein than the 200 mark, okay? Or flip that, if I have a female that is barely 5 foot tall, okay, so she's smaller framed, then 125 might be the top end, and she would be fine with 100 grams of protein a day. So those are my general recommendation for protein, okay? Just some tips on what are protein sources. Really got like 5 basic what I would call protein foods. We look at our meats, our fish, eggs, some dairy. And the reason I got to say some dairy, like if you flip a label over of Greek yogurt, for example, you'll see that Greek yogurt will actually be higher in protein than it is carbohydrate. Okay, but then you get yogurt that has the Skittles on top or the M&Ms on top, that is going to be more of a carbohydrate. Okay, so some dairy is what we kind of classify as a protein source, and then our protein shakes. So a lot of times instead of saying protein's a supplement, I'll just kind of put it in as a food, because a lot of us will use protein to help us get our protein needs in. And one thing that we do in the macro ed community is make sure that some of our favorite food items we make more macro friendly by including the protein powder in there. So that's kind of our 5 protein sources. So just to recap, 0.8 to 1.5 grams of protein per lean body weight. For most females, that's going to be 125 to 150 per day. For most males, 175 up to 200. So there's just some numbers there. Now, a little analogy I like to do in all my lectures talking about the different macronutrients. Think of protein as fuel. Okay, so it has calories like we talked about yesterday, and carbohydrates has calories, fat has calories, but our body uses carbohydrates and fat more for fuel, okay? And think of it more as gas. So if we have a car, we got 2 different fuels we'll put in the car. Our oil that we change every 3 months, the same amount every 3 months. So that's just like our protein. We need the same amount of protein kind of day in and day out. And then if we're going to drive further in our vehicle, that means we would need more gas. So the more that we exercise, the more that we train, the more fat and carbohydrates, or AKA gas, we would need. And then our protein remains constant. Okay? Just a little Continuing to add on the protein, we have two different types of protein shakes that we recommend. I have the Formula 1 and the Level 1. The difference between those for the new guys, I know people that's in my blog have seen this over and over, but I still like to educate on it. The difference between that is post-workout, that is when you want 100% whey protein isolate because it's already basically pre-digested for you. And in that workout setting, you want your protein to be able to digest super fast so it gets all those amino acids get into the muscle cells as quick as possible. Okay, versus the Level 1 is more of a meal replacement shake. It's going to be thicker. It's going to take longer to digest. So it's going to fill you up more like a meal would be. Okay, so in our Level 1, boom, it's going to say Level 1 on it. Comes in different flavors. The peanut butter is actually my favorite flavor, but once again, pick the flavors that you like. Okay, I know the cheesecakes that we make, you can put almost any different flavor in it. So explore. If you struggle getting your protein in, look for adding an extra shake in a day that can help. A lot of times, what I do is I always will do a post-workout shake. I don't always do a meal replacement shake. So a lot of times I'll do 3 scoops of protein in my post-workout shake just to help me get to that 200 grams a day. All right, guys, I hope you found this helpful. As always, if you have specific questions about protein or questions in general, feel free to message me or post to the video. Have a good day.